Beaming to you from the Plastic Microphone Studios, nestled deep in the heart of Cajun country. Welcome to Fave Five From Fans. I'm Jamie Ray, the podcast computer with an IQ of 6,000, the same IQ as 6,000 PE teachers. Oh, no offense to PE teachers or to computers. Today, I am thrilled to have you join us for another exciting episode of the podcast dedicated to all things favorite. And wow, this is a far-flung episode from the deep, deep reaches of space, 3 million years in the future. I have decided to release 2 guests from Stasis and zoom them into the Plastic Microphone Studios to discuss our Fave 5 Red Dwarf episodes. You may remember my favorite Tusken Raider and guest from episode 131, Jeff, where we talked about movie miniatures. He is the assistant principal now, and I'm happy to have him here. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jamie, for having me.
You're welcome,
too
sir.
Kind. So kind.
And then at the 3 o'clock of you, or is that 3? Yeah, I don't know. We have a brand new guest, first timer to be on the show, a true Red Dwarf aficionado, brought to us by cooperation of the Jacked Up podcast and Cam Sully. It's Gil. Welcome to the show, Gil.
Hey, I won't smeg off.
Yeah. Wow. So this is going to be a lot of fun because you two guys are big time into it. I love the show. But I honestly had to go back and look and write me a little cheat sheet with the names of people and stuff. So I'm going to be very interested because once I sat down to make my list, I was like, ooh, wow, there's a lot of them from this particular period, which is okay because it's my favorite. Anybody have anything they want to say before we get started?
No, yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, sir.
No, I started picking I like the top 5 or my top 5, and I got like season 2. I picked like 2 from season 2, and then 1 from season 3. I'm like, I got to stretch this out. So then I went 12 and then 13.
It's every person who's been on the show talks about how difficult it is, especially with something, and that's about the show, is we love to have people who are passionate about something. And so when you're passionate and you love it and it's your favorite already, how do you choose what is your most favorite of favoritist? Well, that's what we're going to find out tonight.
Right. So I am getting over a cold, so if I kind of cough or sneeze or whatever, I'm going to do my best to just turn away. So if I disappear for a moment, that's why.
Yeah, the less I have to see, really, it's okay. I mean,
we'll just see what you leave on the screen if you sneeze.
Yeah.
Right.
So the idea for this quickly came from 2 different conversations, one with Jeff and one with Cam, and another with Jeff. And so we're very excited to be able to put this 3 list show together. And I think if you guys are ready, I'm ready to get started.
Wait, did you say what happened to Cam? Because Cam was so involved in this.
Well, Cam had another show tonight, and it was kind of hard for us all to coordinate. And so I didn't want to give it away, but I have a special message for Cam from Cam later in the show, but I'm saving that. Okay. So let's get started with our honorable mentions. And what makes an honorable mention, you may be asking yourself, what makes an honorable mention? Well, it's either something that didn't make it on the list because there were too many others that just you had to cram into those 5, or it was so memorable that maybe it wasn't a favorite, but you couldn't not mention it. And I think we've talked, and Jeffrey, we're going to go starting with you. Why don't you give us some of your honorable mentions?
Sounds good. So my first honorable mention is season 1, episode 1, the end. It may not be the best episode, but you gotta have the pilot on there as an honorable mention. This is what started it all. There's jokes in this episode that that recur, 10 seasons down the line and still have memorable lines. I had to include the pilot to start the whole thing off.
Yeah. Excellent choice.
So,
what do you think of that, Gil?
I have to agree with it. If there was one I would pick, that would probably be it.
Yeah. Look at him starting off strong already.
Okay.
What is it that you most like about it, Jeff?
Again, it's not the best episode, but because it was the pilot. You establish at the time the three main character, well, with Holly, four main characters. You establish the whole beginning of this story and the ridiculous setup that it is. That somebody gets put in stasis. There's a leak. He stays in there for 3 million years, and his cat turns into a human cat person, and a hologram comes back who is his arch enemy. I mean, it's a ridiculous story. But you need this one to set up 13 seasons worth of other ridiculousness.
Right. Exactly. And it's so cool. So, quick question. What were you guys doing in February of 1988 when this came out?
I didn't really see it till the 90s, and I saw it on Iowa Public Television. It was usually what I watched before I saw Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay, cool. PBS as well, public broadcasting in Louisiana. Jeff?
I watched this in England. So I was living there for high school, but it would have been like several years after it was released. My friend was like, "Hey, you might enjoy this." And shout out to my friend Timo, who I haven't spoken to in years, but he was the one that
he's a huge fan of the show.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Wonderful. He'll probably get in touch with you after this.
Yeah. He introduced me to the show, and that would have been 95. So, after the main chunk of him already been out and everything. Yeah, that's how I saw it.
Wow, awesome. Well, 88, I was senior year of high school, and same thing on Saturdays. They would play Tom Baker, Doctor Who. They would play this. They would play what's it? Blake's 7, Blake's 5.
I
don't know that
Blake's
one.
6. I don't know.
Yeah, Blake's 7.
Blake's 7. Yeah. Yep. So
what's Blake's 7?
Oh, it's a show about 7 people. One of them named Blake.
It's a sci-fi thing. It was a sci-fi British TV show, but it wasn't a funny one.
No.
All right. Blake 7.
All right. Well, great choice then, Jeff.
Oh, wait, I have a fun fact.
Oh, please share it with us.
Because like the other one, I had a fun fact for each movie or episode. Okay, so I love my miniatures. I could not find the exact measurements of the miniature that they built of the Red Dwarf.
Right.
But I found a few pictures with people standing next to it, and as best as I could tell, the miniature that they would have built would have been about 6 or 7 feet long. So that
tracks.
It was a rather large miniature.
Yeah. Because it was long too.
Yes.
And so those pan shots, they kind of go on for a while. So that would make sense. Yeah. Well, cool. All right. You got another one?
I do. Like Gil, I was like, man, I got to go find some of these episodes way towards the end. And I rewatched the entire 13 seasons. And when I got to season 2, episode 1, there's one called Cured. And this is Red Dwarf loves its history, and they end up meeting some of history's worst villains. And it turns out that maybe they're not so villainous, and they kind of become friends with Hitler, and then it turns out that he's really just Hitler and a terrible person.
Is he really Hitler? Oh, man.
Just who would have thunk it, right?
Weren't they robots?
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was typical Red Dwarf silliness. They're just like, hey, let's go, do these historical things or meet his historical people and just make fun of them and have them make fun of us. And and make light of kind of horrible situations and horrible people.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Another good one. Fun fact.
I do. So the Red Dwarf crew have met, as far as historical figures, Jesus, Judas Iscariot, Lee Harvey Oswald, JFK, Craig Charles, Genghis Khan, Messalina, Hitler, Pythagoras, Elvis, Einstein, Lincoln, Marilyn Monroe, Caligula, Stalin, Vlad the Impaler, and my personal favorite, Grigory Ivanovich Rasputin.
Okay, then. Not all in one episode.
No.
Elvis did you mention Elvis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the Wax World episode. So not the real Elvis, but close enough.
Who knows? He could have been.
Right.
He could have been.
So that's my 2 honorable mentions.
All right.
Oh, I go left.
Yep.
Gil?
Oh,
so seamless.
Gil?
So seamless.
I don't have any honorable mentions, to be honest. Though I probably would have mentioned, if I did, the one that you've mentioned, the episode 1.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would have gone with that.
Cool.
Yep. That's
Jamie?
a good one. Well, I have kind of a strange list because I really, really had a hard time, because I remember watching it for 3, 4, 5 years. And then I kind of dropped off. And then later on in probably the 2000s, when they were on VHS, the library had them. So I was able to watch them again that way. But now I was able to find them online, not officially, but good enough. I think maybe we all did that. Unless, do y'all have physical media of them? Okay.
All 13 seasons.
Oh, how about you, Gil?
Oh, I ran out of room with my DVDs, so I started buying things I got it on Vudu.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Or
Awesome.
actually Fandango at home now.
So season 1, episode 1 is a great episode. But my favorite episodes really involve later on, when they got Kryten. Okay. So if I had to pick one of the earlier ones, though, I would pick season 1, episode 1 as an honorable mention, because it is fun. You wake up into this fever dream of a ship and the mates, and then you got the guy with the H on his head, and it's like, what the heck is going on? And nothing that you can prepare yourself for is even close to what actually happens.
Yeah.
And just, I really enjoyed that one. In this time, I only have one.
Fair enough.
I think it's good. We all start off a good consensus there. Won't be in our Fave 5, but it's definitely worth mentioning.
Cool.
All right. Jeff.
Me. All right. So my number 5 is, again, going back to season 1. It is the season finale, episode 6. It's Me Squared. Released in March of '88. This is the episode where we get 2 Rimmers.
More than anybody needs.
and Rimmer is the worst person. And the fact that they have 2 of them, it's just, he gets what he deserves because he has to put up with himself. The 2 of them just bicker like absolute children. They're terrible to each other, and the rest of the crew gets to enjoy his misery, seeing it from their side of the picture.
Yeah.
It's just full of little one-liners, and again, he's a horrible person.
He really is.
And he gets everything it deserves by having to put up with himself.
I certainly agree. And we see way too much of his boxers in this episode.
Not only boxers and jumping.
That's true. That's true. That's a great pick. Me Squared. I like it. I approve. Stamp.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So my fun fact for Me Squared.
Waiting for it.
When you see his death scene, because he replays the gazpacho soup death scene again. Rimmer knocks over a snow globe and says one mysterious word. And he says gazpacho soup. Very similar to Citizen Kane.
Exactly.
And I was like,
Rosebud.
right. And when I saw that the first few times, I never made the connection because I
Oh,
hadn't
really?
well, I didn't see Citizen Kane until like college.
Oh, okay.
And then like, so I saw Citizen Kane and didn't remember it in Red Dwarf. And the next time I went and saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Citizen Kane.
They stole that from Red Dwarf.
Right? And when they're sitting in the movie theater, they're watching Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a great. They lay some seeds throughout this entire show that come to fruition
Oh yeah.
at the weirdest times.
Oh yeah.
Just-
like Lister's kids and stuff. Oh,
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. Oh, that's another great pick. Strong meat squared.
thanks.
All right,
That way. Okay.
you got it.
Gil?
Okay. I'll try to do this in maybe what I think is my number 5. Season 3, episode 1, backwards. And it's because they land on a planet where everything is running backwards. And I just get a kick out of watch. It's like when I was a kid, and you'd have the film thing in school, and you'd always play it back and in reverse and watch it on the screen when you were a kid in high school or something, or in younger grades. And and it was just kind of a funny thing to watch him like doing everything in reverse and watching him like drink beer in reverse, and especially when that woman was eating her food and she was kind of throwing it up in one piece.
Yep, that's a good one. A little disturbing, but a good one. I like it.
Oh, and they also discuss, if Wilma Flintstone is hot or not in that episode.
Well, yeah, of course she is.
Yeah. Well, I would have gone with Betty Rubble myself, but
Well, that's
but
okay.
I'd be thinking of Wilma.
Yeah. I'd go with what's her name?
Oh, it's
Anne Margrock.
Yeah. And it's also the first appearance of, I can't remember the actor's name, the guy who ends up playing Kryten after the first episode.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Wasn't sure of that.
Mm.
All right. Well,
and Jamie,
down. Come up here. All right. Well, my number 5 is going to be a fun little episode that let us kind of get an idea about how good of a trickster that excuse me, that Lister can be. So I'm talking about from season 2, the episode Better Than Life, where the crew gets a space pod that Rimmer is sure is proof of alien life, and just goes into it with all of this. I'm going to protect it, and we got to quarantine, and Lister just walks right in and goes in and opens it up, and they find not only 3 million-year-old mail, but also a game called Better Than Life. And it's really cool. It's like an immersion where you're all into everything, and but then Rimmer's brain starts to rebel against it, and he can't believe that things go right for him, and so he ends up crashing the game for everybody. And I love at the very end where he goes in and he's cleaned off the pod, and he's like, "It's our mail," and I know. So I love that one. It was a fun one. Yeah. What do you think? You familiar with that one?
I'm trying. I know I watched it. And it was when they were playing the game. That's not the one where Cat wakes up and he's Dwayne Dibley?
No, that's later
back
on.
to reality.
This is one where everything worked out. He's like a 12-star general. He goes to have dinner with his parents, or at least his dad for sure.
Yeah.
And his dad just couldn't care less about it. Yep. And that's when he knows, oh, okay.
But so in that one, Rimmer gets jam put all over his face and covered in ants.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his big torture. 3 seasons later, it turns out that's what his brothers did to him. in real life.
Oh,
I forgot that his brother, or he mentioned that about his brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
they lay a joke here, and then 3 seasons later, you get to see the fruition of it.
See, this is why I have you two guys here, because you're bringing it. That's what I'm
Right.
talking about. All right. Well, speaking of bringing it, Jeff,
Oh.
what's your number 4?
Number 4. Oh, I love this one. So this is season 4, episode 5 from 1991, Dimension Jump. This is the introduction of Ace Rimmer. Ace is an alternate universe Rimmer where he is just the most charismatic, amazing, adventurous, handsome, loved person in the whole
Brave.
world. Brave. He is everything that Rimmer wants to be. And it's all because of one incident where Ace got held back a year, and he was the oldest kid in school and he was the tallest kid in school, and he got picked on, and that made him tough and strong. That made him a good person. But since Rimmer, the original Rimmer, got pushed on, he became this sniveling, horrible person. And Ace Rimmer has just got line after line, smoke me a kipper, I'll be back for breakfast. What a guy. It's just endless. You also get to see the actor who played Kryten without his makeup for the first time, if I remember right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was
because that's when Rimmer's first introduced, and he's in his universe.
Right.
And everybody's like going nuts over him. And yeah, I remember.
Yep. The captain offers to cover himself in hummus if it would please Ace Rimmer. Yeah, and Ace makes a couple of appearances throughout the season, and every time he shows up, it's like, all right, it's gonna be one of those episodes.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. There was a blonde woman that hits on him at the beginning of that episode. That's what my question was going to be.
Right. Yeah. And that is if I'm not mistaken, the first and only time you ever actually see anything below the neck on that actress.
Oh.
Because normally it's just her head on the screen.
Was she a computer at that time? Or she was just a woman?
She was just a regular woman.
Oh, okay.
In that episode.
Yes.
Okay.
But she was the she was the Holly computer at that time.
Okay. And he gets there because he's like a test pilot with a ship that can jump through the multiverse or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And to spoil things, I hope it's not in anybody else's list, but it turns out later on, 4 or 5 seasons later, that our Rimmer becomes the new Ace Rimmer.
Oh.
And it turns out that there have been like thousands of Ace Rimmers out there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a nice little story.
I remember that Rimmer, the Ace Rimmer becomes a hologram himself, and it gets passed on, right?
Oh, yep. Cool.
Right. And Ace Rimmer's little holographic bee, or whatever you want to call it, there are thousands of them floating around a planet, and it makes like a ring of Saturn around this planet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a good story. I love this character, and there's a great lore behind this kind of ridiculous character and his sniveling counterpart.
Sniveling counterpoint. Love it. Fun fact.
Well,
oh, sorry. Gil, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah. And the funny thing is, our Rimmer can't stand him.
Right.
Just everybody's in love with him, and he can't stand him. He thinks he's a pretentious git.
Yep.
Because he knows he can never be him.
Right.
So
and then ends up becoming him anyway. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Okay. You have a fun fact?
I do. This is the first episode in the entire series where the end credit was changed. They just did a different kind of like an acoustic ending credit, and this is the first time they've ever done that.
Was it more heroic for like Ace Rimmer? Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
Yep.
All right. I guess for my number 4, I will go with Parallel Universe, episode 6 of season 2. It's the first. It's where they introduce the Holly Hop drive that doesn't really work, and Cat has a dance number in it, and it's part of his dream. Yep, and they get to see female versions of themselves.
Yeah. Okay, I know this one.
Except for Cat.
Yep.
Cat has to see. Cat's opposite is a dog, and that's where Holly meets Hilly, and Hilly is the one who actually in the next season becomes Holly.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I remember how shocked and utterly appalled he was that he was a dog in the other universe.
Yep.
And he was all dirty and he was eating his own ticks or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lister gets pregnant.
Oh yeah. Because isn't there a photograph of him with his kids?
Yep.
And he's Kochanski and yeah, okay.
And he actually says, was it? Can't remember. Is that the one where he says, I wonder how that happened, or something like that?
Yeah, and he says something like, I don't know, but it'll be fun to find out.
Yeah,
and
fun to find out.
He has sex with himself, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. He becomes his own father. I found that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because they're like in a hotel. Is that the same episode where he's standing outside and he thinks he's going in there, he sees himself going in there with Kochanski in a room? No, that's probably another episode. It's okay.
No, I think that's later on, but I know the one you're talking about.
Okay. That was one of the ones that didn't make my list. I don't think it made my list, but yeah, that was a fun one.
Well, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And how about you, Jamie?
Well, my next one is going to be where they get a not so fun computer. And I, of course, am talking about Quag. And just put the guys through their paces. If I'm not mistaken, this was after they had gone through some type of storm, and their normal computer, Holly series, whatever, goes offline, and this is like an emergency backup. And this guy is, I mean, he like starts making working out and cleaning the ship and doing all of these things, and they end up hating the guy and are talking about how much they want Holly back. And through a series of events, they believe that the ship is going to explode, and they're all running around, and they end up in, God, I forget what the name of the room was, trying to fix it. And then all of a sudden he goes offline and Holly comes back. I was just pulling your leg.
Yeah. Yep. It's where Holly was actually, it was Holly was actually just pretending to be Queeg or whatever his name was, Quag.
Yep.
And it was cool to see a different approach to the to the whole computer thing, because you would think, I mean, they're probably somewhere closer in the middle, but Holly just, it was all over the place as far as doing things, I mean, sometimes it worked out, sometimes it was horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But he always wanted to be their friend.
Holly's intelligence swings so greatly. Like there's one episode where like she has trouble counting without banging her head, and then other episodes she's like, oh, well, I'm calculating, how long it's going to take us to turn around at 1 million, it's like, okay, sure. But that's so Red Dwarf, just like, yeah, don't worry about continuity too much.
No, but I believe one of the fun lines in this one is they're talking to Quag about Holly, and they're like, well, he told us he has a IQ of 6,000, and he's like, yeah, it's got a 6 in it. And then there's some mention about a lemon in a glass of water being smarter sometimes. Just, I mean, really gave it to him. So I love that one, Quag.
That was a good one. Right. Let's see. Okay.
That's fun. I like doing this.
They're all positioned differently for each of us, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm recording mine, so that's kind of where.
And
hopefully
I'm pointing left, but Gil's 2 screens over. Yeah, that's why it didn't work the first time.
Gotcha. Yes, that's why.
Right, right. So my third choice is season 3, episode 3, 1989. This is Polymorph.
Oh, great
The
episode.
man, this is one of those ones that, like, right from the beginning, I knew this was going to be on my list. What a ridiculous thing. Yeah, so for those who haven't seen it, a creature who can mimic basically anything comes aboard the ship, and changes rapidly throughout, and then causes the crew to have heightened emotions, and then sucks those emotions out of the crew. So for instance, Lister, he makes him very scared. He sucks out the fear, and when he wakes up, he is uh, basically a homicidal maniac who has no fear. Everyone gets an emotion taken out of them. It's a wild episode, very typical of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a homage to Dark Star in a way. If you remember, there's
John Carpenter.
Yeah, and isn't there a thing it's seen in Dark Star where he's like trying to fight the alien? The alien looks like a beach ball or something like that in Dark Star. So
it's been a
the
while.
Polymorph becomes all different types of things, but it becomes things like that at some point too, which made me think, oh, it's kind of a homage to Dark Star.
Yeah,
is what I thought.
I don't know.
That's
if I've seen Dark Star, it's been a long time, and
it's been about 30 years for me. So
okay.
Excellent choice.
My favorite part of the whole episode, Lister, the polymorph turns into a pair of underwear. He, not knowing, puts the underwear on. The underwear starts to shrink, so he tries to get Kryten to help him. Kryten has a attachment, and he's trying to yank the underwear off of him while there's this attachment, and Rimmer just walks in and just like, kind of
looks like he's
this.
it looks like he's being taken from behind. Yeah.
Oh, it's I watched it yesterday, probably for the 15th time, and still laughed at such a stupid, really funny part of that show. Yeah.
That's a great one.
Polymorph, and then they end up having a second polymorph episode later on, a couple seasons later.
And I've got a question about that. Then there's one where Lister he shrinks down to a tiny man, and he's wearing a RoboCop outfit.
Right.
It's a beat up RoboCop. I wondered how they even got their hands on it. But was that Polymorph or Polymorph 2?
That would have been Polymorph 2, if I remember right.
Yeah, because I've seen the first Polymorph several times, and I don't think it was in there.
No, I watched it last night. You're right though. I don't know if it is an actual RoboCop costume, but it looks just like RoboCop.
Yeah, and I wondered if it was like the one that they used, the one that got beat up in the RoboCop movie, and then they got their hands on that. I kind of wondered about that.
Well,
I don't know, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Peter Weller is a huge fan of the show. I have literally had to mute him on Facebook, so maybe I'll unmute him and see if he sends me a message about where it came from.
Next time you talk to him, ask him about the Oreo story.
Okay, I'll do that.
Fun fact? Yeah, I saw the Robo doc.
You seen that?
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
I watched that part of it just to see that kind of craziness. But yeah,
he denies it though. He denied it in the doc.
And that's fine. He can deny it. It's still an amazing story, and I choose to believe it happened. Okay, my fun fact for this episode. So at the end of the episode, the ship, container, whatever it is, that had the polymorph rotates, and it turns out that there were two of them. The second one is on the ship. So my fun fact is, In the remastered version, it was revealed that the second polymorph died of old age in Lister's underwear drawer. So they would never have a loose end in Red Dwarf. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Excellent choice, sir. Excellent choice.
To Gil.
What is this, number 3?
3.
Okay. Is Kryten, episode 1 of season 2. It's the introduction of Kryten to the series, even though for the rest of that season he didn't show up. There's a scene where Kryten is the crew is telling Kryten that the people he's caring for is dead and stuff, and he's like they're dead. My God, I was only away 2 minutes. It's like, no, they've been dead for thousands of years.
Yep.
Did he wear like an apron?
Yep. Yep. And I guess the only thing I can say, fun fact about that, is it was a different actor that started out Kryten.
Yep.
I can't remember the guy's name, but it was different other than the guy who ended up being Kryten going throughout the series.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember seeing that, thinking that was, man, that happens quite often on TV. The first person will show up, and then for whatever reason, when that character comes back, or ends up the actor leaves. I mean, they did in Game of Thrones 2 or 3 different times.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like, I think the show really took off when Kryten became part of the crew.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's where they found their stride.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
And Jamie?
So back to me. My number 3 is Polymorph. I really, really enjoyed that show. One of my favorite things about it was near the end, they've decided there's only 2 things that they could do. They can form together and attack the polymorph and beat it, or they could run away. And Kat comes back with something like, running away is always one of my favorite things.
Yep.
And I did love the look of the polygon, because it was very 50s B movie sci-fi style to it, and still had its own kind of look as well. So I gotta, you could definitely tell that they were fans of, like, it came from outer space, or the crawling eye, or any one of those things where they use lots of rubber to make it.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Xenomorph Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the second mouth and everything.
Yep. Yeah. That was a good one.
So my favorite line in that episode, since you brought it up again,
I brought it up.
Favorite line is Rimmer is like, hey, we're gonna do all these plans, but we really need to come up with a name for our group.
Yes.
And the name of the group was the Committee for the Liberation and Integration of Terrifying Organisms and Their Rehabilitation into Society. Unfortunately, the acronym is clitoris. And it's one of those, like, I've memorized that since I've been a kid. I just know that line off the top of my head always.
And the worst thing about that, nobody can ever find that organization. Boom, boom.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, we are at the point of the show where we're going to stop, collaborate, and listen. No. And we're going to talk a little bit, because we jumped right into this and we don't really know much about Gilbert and all of his cool stuff behind him. Are those the real comics?
No, they're wood plaques and stuff that I have behind me in this.
Whew.
That I found. I found them in various places. Like, I can't even remember where I picked them up. It's been years.
Even the Ghost Rider?
The Ghost Rider was a print I bought at a convention in 2014.
Oh, that's a cool one. I like that. So obviously you're a big comic fan.
Yep.
Do you read something on the reg?
I'll read anything written by Garth Ennis.
Okay.
He writes. He's like the best Punisher writer I've ever read. And he's done, like, he created The Boys, which you see on TV on Amazon Prime, and he created The Preacher, which was on, like, AMC,
I believe.
But
Arseface.
Of course, the comics are much better.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and but you really have to be an adult to read most of his stuff.
True.
Because violent, and I mean stuff in the boys just they could never do on TV. I don't care what streaming service it was.
Mm-hmm.
That that's some good, the whole hero gasm thing that they did.
Yeah.
Man, I was amazed when I saw that it was coming out as an episode, and I was like, there is no way. And they just barely skimmed the top of the debauchery that they had.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing where the guy shrinks down. Was that hero gasm?
I think it
Shrinks down
was.
and enters a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
sneezes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good one.
But he also did like it was okay for DC. It wasn't like censored or anything. He did Hitman for DC Comics, which
Oh, okay.
was also a good read.
Yeah.
I don't know
Did-
that one.
It was they managed to get some violence in there though. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Did he write the Black Gas series?
I'm not even familiar with that at all.
I don't know that
So
one.
No. Okay. It's somebody like him if it's not him. So do me a favor. Tell me a little bit about Preacher, because I really don't know much about it.
the series starts out where he's like preaching in a town, and this uh baby that gets born from an angel and a demon having sex uh escapes from heaven, enters into Jesse Custer, who's preacher,
Okay.
and then Jesse Custer gets this power, like the word of God, where if he says anything, if he tells people to do something, they'll do it. Of course, they have to understand him. So if he's like talking to a Frenchman and he tries to tell him, do this, he's got to be able to do it in French, which he doesn't speak French.
Ah,
So, but he never, in the course of the series, I don't recall he ever used that power very much.
okay.
But he decided from that point on to go on a quest to find God because God had left heaven.
Okay.
And that was the premise of the series. And along the way, he found his ex-girlfriend, who turned out to become an assassin
Uh-huh.
later on, and ran into a guy who turned out to be an Irish vampire.
And I
He was
know
my favorite.
yeah, yeah.
Huh?
I've never read it, but I want to see like this. I see there's a series of it now on, I think it's playing on Netflix, but it probably came out on AMC first.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
they did 3 seasons, and they cheat a lot of stuff in that
Oh.
series. It's the comic is, like I said, a much better read than it is a watch. And I like Preacher okay, but I kind of didn't like the way they changed things in it.
Yeah.
The TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
read like
Warren
the first.
Ellis that I was thinking of.
Warren Ellis. Yeah,
Warren Ellis.
is he the one that did Authority or something like that, or was that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that he did that. So this one, it was a series of like 3 or 4 issue where first of all, this family goes out to this island where they're supposed to be vacationing, and there's a minor earthquake, and it releases this black gas. And when it gets into people, it turns them into like psychotic zombie-ish type people. And then there's this whole thing about a Native American lore that has to deal with it. And then they do like Black Summer and all these other stuff, and they turn that into a Netflix series. Kind of,
I didn't know. Yeah.
yeah, very different from the comic, but still, if you like zombie stuff, it's pretty good.
Well, yes. I was going to say, is that kind of like his version of Walking Dead? Then that's what I was.
Yeah,
say.
kind of. Yeah.
But you bring up Warren Ellis, and it makes me think of also he did a terrific series called Planetary.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever read that, and Planetary is very much a homage to like the Doc Savage and the pulp books of the 30s and 40s and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because it's like they got a character that shows up named Doc Brass, who's basically just Doc Savage, and he's been trapped in a cave for decades and decades, and he comes out and he's all messed up, but it plays homage to that, and to like it even brings up things that make you think of Godzilla, or I don't know. There was quite a few characters.
yeah, that's cool. I'll have to go and I did read the Extremis that he wrote for Iron Man. That's pretty much what they based Iron Man 3 on.
Yeah, the extremist armor thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. But yeah, and Jeff, what you got going on?
Well, I accepted a position as an assistant principal at one of the schools here where I live, so life changed a lot. I had to cut back on a bunch, I've got my YouTube channel, and I kind of had to put that on pause for a while. I'm still building things, but just at a much slower rate.
Yeah.
I'm putting in a lot of 12-hour days at work. But I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but I truly am enjoying this job. And I'm happy with what I'm doing. So
Cool.
yeah.
And so you guys are both educators?
Oh no, I've never taught anybody a thing in my life.
Oh.
No, I'm a project manager.
Mm.
And so I spend my whole day sending emails and writing spreadsheets and fixing problems and finding problems.
Jamie, my wife's getting her master's in project management.
I did not. It's a
Yeah.
whole new thing now. I mean, back I just 30 years ago just kind of started in it and without knowing what it was. And now I love it. It's all oil field related stuff. But we're a small company, so it's a good job.
Well, if she needs somebody to interview or ask questions, I'm gonna send her to you.
Yeah. I'm old school though, so
It's all right.
Yeah. Well, anybody else got anything we want to talk about before we get to our penultimate choices?
No. In the 501st, October is definitely our busiest month.
Yeah.
I think we have 15 events just for October.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh,
we're gonna be real busy.
That makes me think. Shout out to Michael and his new bride.
Yep. Congrats, Mike.
That's it. Congratulations.
Okay.
Gilbert,
Mike is one of Jamie's regulars. I think he's done 4 episodes.
3, I think. 3.
Yeah. How long has your show been running?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, this is going to be episode 145 or 146.
Right.
I love it. It's a lot of fun, and all the money that I make off of it is just I mean, I can't even count the money that comes pouring in, because it's a number that you wouldn't believe. So yeah.
Gilbert, you have to get a sticker too.
Yes,
that's
true.
There are
y'all need to get your address.
Exclusive stickers for people who are on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's true. Yep. And you can stick it to stuff, which it's great. All right, well, let's get back to our penultimate choices. Jeff, lay it on us, brother.
All right, so my penultimate choice has kind of already been mentioned. Season 5 season finale, Back to Reality. This is the one where they run into the despair squid and they get attacked and the ship blows up, and it turns out that the last 5 seasons of Red Dwarf actually all just been a video game that they have been playing very, very poorly. And the 4 guys come out of their immersive video game, and it turns out that they are completely different from what they thought they were. That's where we get Dwayne Dibley, who is basically a hobo, I think. Kryten is half human, and he's a police officer, if I remember right.
Detective or something. I don't know if it was private detective or detective. I'm not sure.
Yep. It's a great episode, watching all these guys freak out thinking that they are actually something they're totally not, because of course in the end it turns out that they're not really, haven't been playing this game for the last 5 years. The despair squid has shot the ship with despair ink, and they're all convinced that they've been playing this game, and they all, trigger warning, they all try to commit suicide all at once with one bullet in one gun. It's another hilarious episode where they just get put in the most ridiculous situations, and you know, low budget, just ridiculous. The whole show is ridiculous.
Well,
You know,
the whole thing for me was the guy when they come out of the game, the guy's like describing, well, sure, certainly you did this,
right,
certainly you did that,
right.
and
You
they're
you
like,
didn't go to
what are you
the
talking
planet
about?
of nymphomaniacs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me was the funniest part for me.
Yeah.
Well,
Is-
that
is-
and Dwayne Dibley.
Well, I was going to say, is this the episode where Dibley says he could open a beer bottle with his okay.
Yep. Yep, indeed.
That's
and Dwayne Dibley makes a couple more appearances throughout the seasons too.
He's
I
kind of
think
an
he's
Ace
been-
Rimmer
Yep.
type guy.
Well, in fact, they all got to wear Dwayne Dibley teeth at one point. That was when
That's right.
Christine Kochanski was part of the crew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They put Dwayne Dibley teeth on and had a mop top on their head
Mm-hmm.
and convinced everybody that they were all Dwayne Dibleys. Yeah,
That's a great choice. Lots of fun that episode.
it really is. So my fun
Fun fact?
fact. Yes. So like Gil mentioned, where they come out of the game
Mhm.
is the same set as a few episodes earlier of Hollow Ship. where they-
Oh,
it's the exact same set. They just repainted it grimy. It was like, oh,
it's cool.
that's one way to do it.
Yeah. So they were in a hologram.
Right.
Very nice.
Right.
Sounds like an episode of Next Generation.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Well,
Gil.
I'm gonna go with season 12, episode 4, Macocracy, I think is the name of it, unless I didn't spell it right. It's where the machines go on strike, basically. All the machines on Red Dwarf go on strike. And Rimmer decides that they need to have someone represent them. So he puts himself up as the person to be the one in charge. And then Kryten says, no, it has to be me. I'm a machine. So they both start running for the same position. And they have to get votes.
Yep.
And so they do the whole thing, they do the whole thing where they're doing smear campaigns on each other. And in the smear campaigns, they're telling the truth about all the past things they did on the show.
Yep.
could make this stuff up.
Yeah. And one of the things I like to remember now is I heard I can't remember who said it, but someone said, has your brain gone 404?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and I thought that
clever.
was, I think it was Rimmer that said it.
Yeah.
And then yellow alert means someone's in danger, but it's not you.
That reminds me. There was one that were like, "Are we gotta get the ship up to red alert? Are you sure it's red alert?" Well, yeah, it's red alert. All right, we'll have to climb up and change the light bulb.
Yeah.
And they
I
also
did
have a
love little mechanoids where they're basically just a hand sticking
Those
out of a
gutters.
trash. And it looks like.
Yep.
And
They even have a purple alert, which is like, well, it's not as bad as a blue alert, but a little bit better, or not as bad as a red alert, but a little bit worse than a blue alert. Stupid.
And I remember for Rimmer and Kryten to try to win, and actually Rimmer blackmails the cat into being his running mate
Oh,
because he caught the cat needing glasses to read, and the cat didn't want that to get out, so he used that as blackmail to get him to be his running mate.
Yep.
And then Kryten takes Lister on as his running mate, and Kryten makes Lister actually had to call back to season 1, where he has to go talk to the talking toaster to try to get his vote to
you
win.
want some toast? How about some toast? You know what? I don't know if we could fix that, but it would help. Some toast.
So he has to bargain with the toaster to try to get
That's
his vote
hilarious.
to try to win.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then the episode ends with Rimmer being locked into this garbage place with the toaster.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So
So
for
Jake,
my penultimate choice, this was neck and neck, and it took me a while to really decide which one I was going to name as number one. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it as we speak.
So cheating.
I'm going to have to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with season 4, Camille. So this is, I think it's episode 1, where listeners help Kryten to learn how to lie and insult stuff. And later on, when he gets a mechanoid, he rescues a mechanoid named Camille. That he's like the perfect partner. But then when they get back to the ship, everybody's seeing a different Camille, and then we find out later on, what's going on with that. And you get the what was it, a Casablanca end at it. And I thought it was very cool because it made me think of the polymorph, because it would take things off of people that, and they couldn't really get into it. But with them, she was right in the middle of all of them, but they were all seeing something different. And it kind of reminded me like of an old Kolchak episode for a while. Yeah.
I don't remember an amorphous blob being in Kolchak, but
No, there was an episode of Kolchak where there was this thing. It was like in a Jewish community, and it was killing people, and they would see the person that they loved the most. And so this one of the cops' grandma comes out and is like, "Come here, Sonny," and then someone else sees like their wife, but then Kolchak comes up and he sees. Remember the old lady who does the column in the that works in the. He sees her, and he like that's when he knows it can't be her because she's not here.
but it could also call back to Star Trek with the
Oh
salt
yeah,
creature.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Jeff, Star Trek is a TV show with the Starship Enterprise, and yeah,
Go on.
yeah.
Actually, wait, I do have a legit question. I don't know what Kolchak is.
That goes back to the 70s, like
Ooh.
70. They did like 2 TV movies
Mhm.
about this reporter who's always trying to get evidence of supernatural, like werewolves. And in fact, the first one was The Night Stalker, and that was a vampire.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
In Hollywood, no, in Vegas.
And he always ends up getting his camera smashed or something, and he can't show anybody proof. And then there was a second one called The Night Strangler.
Okay.
And then he was kind of like a vampire, but not really. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But then after that, after those first 2 movies, about probably 73, 74, there was a TV series that ran for a year.
Yeah. It had like 13 episodes, maybe.
It might have, I think might have had closer to 17 or 18, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Were you a fan of X-Files?
Yep.
He actually made an appearance later on in the series.
Oh, nice.
Darren McGavin was the guy's name.
Yeah, yep. Darren McGavin. He basically played Kolchak.
Nice.
In it. So it's a really, really great show. It's dated, but if you watch it as a period piece from the 70s, it's wonderful.
Right.
Especially that first movie when he's in Vegas.
Yes. And he always drives a powder blue Mustang convertible. And he's wearing a seersucker suit, and he has one of those straw like quartet singer hats. And everybody hates him. Like the cops hate him. His boss hates him. And this couple, it's really good. You have to look for. I'm not sure if it's streaming, but
yeah. Keep in mind. Well, I bought it off Apple actually, or iTunes not too long ago. But yeah, I remember watching it when I was a kid.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right.
Look at that.
I can find
We've
it.
enlightened him.
Oh, I've got a list of new stuff to go check out. I've got Kolchak, Blake 7, and Black Gas. So
yeah,
it seems like every time I either do or listen to your show, Jamie, I'm like, well, I gotta go find this one weird movie that Jamie brought up. Go find out.
Well, if you watch Kolchak, you got to remember it for the time it was made.
Yeah.
There was
That's
no,
fair.
yeah, the rubber suit creatures and all that kind of stuff that happened.
Yeah,
Just got to keep that in mind when you're watching it. But
Yeah.
they're fun to watch.
They are.
fair enough.
One of my favorites, Gil will know this one too. A motorcyclist from a motorcycle gang gets beheaded, and it's like a Sleepy
Take the body.
Hollow reference.
Yeah.
He comes back
Nice.
and he's literally riding the motorcycle with no head, like doing jumps and stuff, and it's nuts, so man, but it's just so good. Yeah. Well, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I kind of remember a motorcycle thing, but I thought there was something involving werewolves and motorcycles, but that could be
You
something
might be
else.
thinking of Werewolves on Wheels, which
That's
was a
probably
movie.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll add that to the list.
God, sometimes I hate that I know this stuff.
Well, I've
Well,
been soaking up pop culture since 1972. So, and
okay.
we got a lot of reruns back then. So,
Yes, we did.
or
So,
syndicated stuff. Yep.
were you the remote control at your house too?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what that means, Jeff? Get up
Yeah.
and change the channel.
Oh, so my dad didn't do that. He had me sit in front of the TV and he got a cane pole and he would just thwack me whenever he needed me to change the channel. So yeah, I was the remote.
Kids today, they just don't know.
They don't.
Awesome. All right, well, why don't you take your
I have-
final swallow and give us your absolute favorite Red Dwarf episode?
Okay. Similar to many people that have said this on your show, I knew my number one right from the beginning. I have watched this episode more times than I'd care to admit. Whenever I end up binge watching Red Dwarf, it's usually because of this episode. Season 5, episode 4, Quarantine.
Oh yeah.
The crew goes out, minus Rimmer. They go out. They encounter someone who has a disease that can be transferred. When they come back onto the ship, Rimmer is furious at how he has been treated and locks the other three in quarantine. And
For months, right?
Oh yeah, for the best part of the show is just those three being locked up and trying to put up with each other, and then it turns out that Rimmer has the disease and has gone completely insane.
Hard to tell.
Well, when he is got pigtails and a gingham dress and
Yeah.
a penguin puppet, you
Mhm.
kind of figure out pretty quick he's lost his mind.
Yeah, there wasn't very far to go, but
When he pulls up that and he's like, Mr. Flibble's very cross and shoots lightning out of the penguins, I absolutely every time, 100% for sure my favorite. I think my favorite line in the whole thing is the trio is trying to convince Rimmer that he should let them out, and Rimmer says, "Well, have you spoken to the Potato King?" And they're like, "Well, no." He's like, "Oh, well, you need to get there. We're gonna go on our magic carpet. Because they're just going along with whatever he says." And he says, "So you want to see the Potato King on your magic carpet, and you're telling me you're perfectly sane?" And so that warrants, without oxygen. And he just cuts off the oxygen to everybody in there. It also introduces the luck virus, which ends up playing out 4 or 5 seasons later as well. This is definitely my favorite episode.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That's a great pick.
Yeah. When they convinced Rimmer, the actor, to get dressed up like that, he said, "I will only do it if the other three also do it at the end of the episode."
Oh,
Which
now
is
you
kind
know
of
why.
funny because he has gotten dressed up in all sorts of outfits. He's been you know, half naked and covered in oil, and he's had all sorts of stuff, but that one he's like, no, I need something in return
He
for
has
that.
a line. There is a line.
Apparently.
And it's being a Wendy's impersonator.
It is. He does look like Wendy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a reference to like Pippi Longstockings, but now when you see it, all you can think of the girl is the Wendy's logo.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like Wendy.
Great call. Okay. Fun
I have
fact.
a fun fact. So the fun fact for this one, the puppet Mr. Flibble, when they were rehearsing, they just grabbed a puppet and were going to use, you know, just use that as a temporary stand-in.
Yeah.
And they kept trying things over and over again and could not find anything as funny as the little penguin. So in the end, they just stuck with Mr. Flibble.
That's awesome. And where's Mr. Fibbles now? That, you know, never mind. I take my question
Somewhere
back.
in the BBC vault.
We hope. All right. Well, that's a great one. I like
wait.
that.
Gil?
Okay, I kind of consider this one a little bit of a cheat. Season 13 only really had one episode.
Oh, so definitely is your
was like-
favorite episode from that season.
Yes, Red Dwarf Promised Land.
Mhm.
So yeah, and it's an hour and a half long. It's movie length.
Mhm.
But you know, it opens with a cat fleet that looks like a cat's face. You know, there's rebels that still, you know, because this is a callback to like the first season or two with Lister being considered a god by the cat people.
Yep.
And yeah, it's Cat getting to see his people
Yes.
also, but it opens with a cat fleet that looks like a cat's face. There's rebels on board who believe in Lister, and the bad guys don't believe in Lister anymore. And so the guards are taking them to be killed, but they get distracted by a red dot, and the rebels escape because they're cat people. One of my favorite things in that is Kryten has a discussion with Cat getting a sex change to further the human species, and Lister and Cat discuss who would be a better woman, whether it be Lister or you know, Cat. Kryten lies to Rimmer in that episode, and every time he lies, he says lie mode engaged. So Rimmer's hearing this.
Yep.
And then there's a scene where Rimmer's asking Kryten, is it a ship or a missile? And Kryten is just standing around, you know, waiting. He says, what are you waiting for? He says, well, waiting to see if the ship explodes. If the ship explodes, it's a missile.
It's logical.
Yeah.
Not helpful, but logical.
And then Rimmer ignores the distress call, tells Kryten to delete his memory, causes a few issues with him having to constantly have to tell Kryten to delete his memory, because every time his memory gets deleted, something comes up where he's trying to research what's going on again.
Oh. Also sounds like an episode of Next Generation, which is another Star Trek show, Jeff.
I've seen that one.
Different crew.
And it's also where, you know, and Holly comes back in the
Oh,
episode,
right.
in that movie. Holly gets reloaded, but it's his 6,000 IQ version of himself, and kind of forces the crew to leave Red Dwarf because he basically kicks them off because he's going to like destroy. I don't know if he said he was going to destroy the ship or destroy them, but either way, they would have been destroyed. So they end up leaving Red Dwarf, and the crew ends up on the Iron Star. They discover something called Diamond Light that gives holograms more power. So Rimmer tries it and burns himself out after calling himself the Mighty Light. So he has superpowers kind of for like a few minutes, but then he gets burned out, and then it forces him to have to be plugged into like the ship all the time, and he's like got a plug attached to him, and he can't travel too far from it.
kind of sounds like the emergency medical hologram from Voyager. Jeff, that's another TV show from Star Trek.
I'm in the middle of that one.
Well, there is some similarities with that, with the hard light thing, especially.
Yep.
But they stumble on the cat rebels that worship Lister. Feral cats board the Iron Star. Crew escapes. Feral cats and starbug. And Lister's trying to get Kryten to tell the people that he's not a god. You know, the cat people that he's not a god. But Kryten, every time he goes in to try to tell these people that he's not a god, he just goes on and on about how great Lister is. And so then they send in the cat because he's lived with him and stuff, and the cat's in there trying to convince him, and then they end up convincing him that Lister's a god, and he joins them. Yep. So, you know, Lister tells Rimmer that Kryten likes him because Kryten's going, or Rimmer's going through a sort of a crisis of faith. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't believe he's all that, and nobody likes him, and it's kind of a heartfelt moment in a way because Lister's trying to tell him that people like him without saying that he likes Rimmer. You know.
Yep.
All right. Well, I have two questions. I remember an episode where they go to find there's this really old cat guy.
That's like first season, I think.
I was fixing to say, so is that the same? That's like a huge callback then. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. That's amazing.
And how the movie ends, how they win in the end is like they managed to find out this like special stone or something that's got like a power source, and it powers up Rimmer back into his Mighty Light character.
Okay.
And he saves the day, but he ultimately saves the day. He shoots a red laser out of his finger across to the other ship, and it leaves a little red dot on the bad guy. And so all his fellow cat people are attacking him and killing him, and the ship blows up or whatever because of a little red dot.
Yeah. Well, cat people understand.
Yeah.
So that does bring up a question that I have for both of y'all. Did you watch the more recent movies that have come out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the last one that I've seen listed is that one I just mentioned.
Right.
Okay.
Promised Land is, so it's one of those weird things where even if they were a movie, they are considered a season. So
okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, season 13 is Promised Land, which is actually just a movie. And then season 10,
I think it was 9.
Was it 9?
Actually,
okay.
I think it was 9.
Yeah, 9 is Back to Earth, 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Right. That is basically just another movie or a 3-episode season.
Yeah, I found it funny because I remember buying the DVD for Back to Earth, and it's all a movie. But then when I see it out there, they broke it up into 3 episodes.
Exactly.
So yeah, and in this case, the season 13, they didn't break it up. They just released it all as one movie.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess it's time for me to drop my absolute favorite episode. Yes, sir.
No, I was.
Number one.
No, I'm sorry. I should. No. Jamie.
And most people would probably think that it's the Kryten episode, but it's not. But it is a Kryten-esque episode, and I'm talking about Marooned. This is the one where the crew has to, like abandoned ship. No, it's not Marooned. Oh crap! I messed that up. I wrote it down though. It's Thanks for the Memory. That's the one. So this is the one where the crew wake up after celebrating. It's like instead of Rimmer's birthday, it's his death day, and they realize there's a huge chunk of time missing, and Lister's got a broken foot, and so it's kind of this, let's back up and see if we can figure out what happens. And it's one of the first times I can think of where we really see them in their space suits, out and about. And it's a fun episode because you really kind of see them really kind of working together. They have like a party on the planet where they put his tombstone, and then you find out all of these things and how they happen and how they put together. Even the ship's CCTV footage is missing.
Yep.
And anyway, I really enjoyed that one.
That reminds me of a Next Generation episode with
Yeah, that's an episode Star. Okay, sorry, you got it.
the one where Data, Data's like the one hiding things, and
Exactly.
yeah,
and nobody can figure out, and they know he's and they do it a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. They go back. Mr.
they
Data's
do
a
it.
robot, kind of like Kryten.
Android.
Android.
Look at that snap. Yeah.
Yep. Gil's got my back.
And so the whole thing is about them going out and trying to find the only source of the true story, which is in the black box.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
and if I remember right, the whole reason that behind this is that Lister gave Rimmer a memory of his about a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And Rimmer eventually starts piecing this together. It's like, how were you dating her when I was dating her? And eventually wipes his memory because he got
exactly. That was fun too, because you see him in like Lister clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And that, my friends, is a list. That's how it's done.
I was glad to see we didn't cross over. I was wondering if anybody would be crossing over.
Yeah, except for just like, of course, we all did the pilot,
right?
And that was the honorable mention thing. Yeah,
honorable mentions. And then Jeff and I did polymorph. But other than that, it was which really goes to show you it's such a well written that so many episodes are people's favorites.
Definitely.
I think it was great. I
always thought.
Go ahead.
No, I always thought it was funny how the seasons would always end, but then when the next season started up, it really didn't have much to do with how the last season ended.
Wait, what's continuity?
Yeah. So I like how season 3 starts. There is a wall of text that just goes running by.
Their Star Wars thing that they
did. Star Wars.
It goes, we're going to explain all these huge changes so that there is continuity. And it's like, you don't have to do that. We don't care.
We don't care. We don't care.
Yep.
But they've read it by so fast, you got to really pause it and look to read it. Yeah.
Yeah, but not too long because you don't want to stretch the tape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I owned a few of them on VHS.
That was then. Now it's DVD and digital.
That's true. That's true. But some kids don't know what VHS is. Now they'll never know the struggle.
And I'm noticing on your wall you've got like a ROM Space Knight.
Yes.
Oh no.
Look at you. Yeah, look, there you go. I'm a huge Jeff, just go get you a drink. I'm a huge ROM the Space Knight fan. But I have been for years and years, not just these Johnny come latelys when he came back to Marvel. So back in the day, there was nothing that you could get from ROM because after the comics and the toy, they didn't really put much stuff out. So I had a long, probably 10 years of going to cons and stuff, and I'd have people do me like blank covers, and they would recreate movie posters but with ROM in them instead of like RoboCop, for example, or Mad Max or Spider-Man. And then I started doing some other things, and I like with 3D print a little ROM head or a little thing to put my pens in. I took to finding back before they really jumped up in price. I bought a whole bunch of ROMs, the figures, the tall ones, and would take them apart and chrome them and put them back together and redo the wiring. And Chris Ryal, who is literally, and this is true, he is a friend of the show. He has one of my figures in his office. So it was really cool. He sent me some cool stuff to go back because that's basically when the ROM was about to come out in IDW. So yeah, huge fan.
I know that Marvel in the last 20 years, they've had Space Knights, but they don't really bring up Rom.
No,
And the
not
Space
Rom.
Knights don't look anything like Rom does.
Exactly. So when Parker Brothers came to him, they brought the idea of Rom and the galaxy and
the bad guys, the dire
wraiths? Not the dire wraiths, because so anyway, so when the show was over, so they created the whole mythos with the Space Knights and the dire wraiths, you know, the scientific ones and the ones that have magic and stuff. So after the series ended and the rights reverted back to them, that's why you still see dire wraiths. They showed up in the Avengers, they showed up in the X-Men,
yep,
you know, all of that stuff. So that was why they were able to do it. And then they did like a 5-issue mini series that was just called Space Knights, and it was about basically a new generation of them, not the generation from the last like 5 issues of Rom, but a whole new one. And Randy is actually in it at the very beginning. She's like the queen. Oh yeah, I'm a nut for it. I actually had commissioned a guy. You can find him, Nikki the Pipe, on Instagram and stuff. I came to him with ideas and we kind of sketched up, and then he drew an issue 76 and an issue 77 where Rom ends up having to go what he thinks is back in time, but is actually a one of the multiverse worlds, and he and Spider-Man have to fight. Shut up. End up fighting a venomized dire wraith. So
okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the Micronauts then? Because it's making me think of toys. So Micronauts. I just recently got the 2 volumes omnibuses. For the entire collection, because the Micronaut issues I have, they're missing stuff in between.
Right.
But my first issue of that Micronauts was issue 7, and that has Man-Thing on the cover. A Michael Golden Man-Thing.
And Michael Golden did a lot of covers. He actually did my favorite cover of Rom, which is the one where Rom is fighting a F-15 Eagle, I believe, in front of the Washington, the Capitol building. And I've met him several times. You know, he's a super talented artist, and being a Micronauts fan, you know, was all up in Micronauts Grill.
I met Mike Grell, Mike Golden, Mike Zeck, all on the same day on 2014 at a convention.
Yeah, that's awesome. You and I, man, I'm telling you, because I'm a huge Mike Grell fan. I've met him several times. I bought the big omnibus version, or the master series or whatever of John Carter. I mean, listen to me, John Sable.
John Sable,
yeah, John Sable, which is awesome. The second one's making its way out now. So how you doing, Jeff?
I'm great. I'm just watching two people become new best friends. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, but his take on Green Arrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Especially, well, I shouldn't say especially, but Dan Jurgens is just the best person to pick up his stories and move on with them, because he did it in Warlord when Mike was leaving. He picked up the art and then he picked up the story. He took it a whole different direction and absolutely loved it. And then he did the same thing with Green Arrow, and he brought Warlord into Seattle, and you finally put the two things together. They look exactly alike.
Yeah. Well,
so,
except the white beard and
right. So much that Travis, the Warlord, is getting into fights in bars because they think he's the Green Arrow. So anyway, so have you ever read Warlord, Jeff? No.
Nope. But if you're asking me, yes, I have.
Yeah. I know you watched it. Oh, wow, guys, this has been so much fun. I know it's a task to make these lists and to sit down and do. So I really appreciate y'all taking the time to do it.
It was so fun revisiting. It was fun revisiting Red Dwarf. I hadn't seen it in 10 years, and actually, my memory of it is I remember the Back to Earth thing, and I bought that. That was basically the last thing I watched. I didn't see that season 12, or that season 13, and it came out at least 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it was 2017, and then 2020 was the most recent one.
Yep.
Right. And
I'm just pulling that right off the dome. I wasn't
Yeah,
looking at that.
yeah, I went and bought season 13 because of this podcast. I was like, well, gotta watch them all. So
You're so
yeah, there
sweet.
you go. There you go.
Well, that's I was trying to do something for Cam and also watch Red Dwarf, which took. So I was trying to fit it in wherever I could.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And it's
so
much
like
fun.
so like I actually like Red Dwarf as well. I remember quite a few. I mean, if I just listened to it, so I listened to it at work while I was working.
Oh, okay.
You know, I couldn't really watch it, but I could listen to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's how I took care of trying to get all the seasons out. Then then I'd watch them when I got home or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
I like again, I appreciate it. I know it's a task to do, but it's a task you love when you can sit down and watch all those episodes again.
Yep.
Indeed.
A lot of fun.
So I think all in all, this has been a 100% successful trip.
But sir, we lost Mr. Cam.
Am I supposed to say something?
Yeah, you're gonna all in all 100% successful trip.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
We are not editing that out. That's exactly how
exactly the way it is. Chef's kiss. I love it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right. And to all of you out there in the podcast universe, thank you so very much for watching or listening to Fave Five From Fans. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. It's a free way that you can help to grow the show. And if you liked it, tell a friend about it. And if you didn't like the show for whatever crazy reason, find that one guy who reminds you of Rimmer and tell him about the show, because maybe it'll ruin his day too. And don't forget, you can interact with us on Twitter, X, at Fave, the number 5 for fans. We're also on Instagram, and I talk I'm on the other one too with the short stuff. New episodes come out every Friday, usually. So be sure to subscribe and to follow us to catch all of the new episodes. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Thanks so much for joining us. Guys, take us out.
Bye, guys. It was wonderful meeting you, buddy.
Yeah, good meeting you guys.
Bye,
in fact, I'll have to look you up.
All right.
All right. Bye.